The envelope was sitting on my kitchen counter when I got home from work. Plain white. Return address from a bank I'd never heard of. Meridian Lending Group, out of Columbus, Ohio. My name printed in that cold, formal font that means someone somewhere typed it into a system and hit enter without thinking twice about the person on the other end. I set my bag down. It was a notice of missed payment, 60 days past due, on a home equity line of credit for $310,000 against my house. I read it again, then a third time. I set the letter flat on the counter and smoothed it with both hands, like pressing out the wrinkles would somehow change what it said. My address was right there in black ink. My full legal name, my social security number, partially masked, but the last 4 digits were mine. I had never applied for a home equity line of credit in my life. I bought my house 7 years ago. I was 31, recently promoted to senior project manager at a civil engineering firm, and I had saved every dollar of my down payment myself over 5 years. No help from anyone. I remember signing the closing documents at a title company on a Tuesday afternoon in October, and I cried in my car afterward, not from sadness, but because I had done something I wasn't sure I could do, and I had done it entirely alone. My house. My name on the deed. Mine. And now someone had taken out $310,000 against it without my knowledge. I didn't panic. I want to say that clearly, because people always assume you panic in a moment like that. I didn't. Something went very quiet inside me instead, the way a room goes quiet when you realize something irreversible has happened. I picked up my phone and I called my attorney. Her name is Patricia Holloway. I'd used her when I bought the house and again 2 years ago for a contract dispute at work. She answered on the third ring, which surprised me because it was past 6 in the evening. I read her the letter over the phone. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Don't touch anything else in that envelope. Don't call the bank tonight. Come to my office tomorrow morning at 8 and bring everything." I slept 4 hours. At 8 the next morning, I was sitting across from Patricia at her desk. She read the letter twice, then she looked up at me over her reading glasses. "You've never had any dealings with Meridian Lending Group?" "I've never heard of them." "Do you have a home equity line with any institution?" "No, my mortgage is with First Federal. I've never borrowed against the property." She nodded slowly. She turned to her computer and started typing. I watched her face. She had been a real estate attorney for 26 years, and she had the kind of face that doesn't give much away. But after a minute, something shifted slightly around her eyes. "The loan was originated 14 months ago," she said, "signed and notarized. The funds were dispersed in 2 draws, $180,000 and then $130,000, about 6 weeks apart. 14 months ago, I had been in Denver for a 3-week work project. I had barely been home. Someone used my identity," I said. "It wasn't a question." "It appears that way." She turned back to me. "I want you to pull your credit report this morning. All 3 bureaus. Then I want you to call the fraud department at your primary bank, freeze your credit, and file a police report. Don't call Meridian yet. Let me handle that." She paused. "Do you have any idea who might have had access to your personal documents? Your social, your deed, anything like that?" I sat with that question for a long moment. And then I thought about my brother. My brother is 4 years older than me. His name doesn't matter for this story. I'll just call him my brother, because that's the only role that's relevant here. And by the time this is over, even that word felt hollow. He and his wife have been financially unstable for as long as I can remember. Not because they don't earn enough, he's in sales. She works in hospital administration, but because they spend as though money is something that happens to other people. Credit cards, personal loans, a boat they used twice, and stored in a facility that cost more per month than my car payment. 2 years ago, they had to sell their house to avoid foreclosure. They moved into a rental 40 minutes away. About 18 months ago, so roughly 2 months before that first loan disbursement, my brother had asked if he could store some boxes at my place while they were between storage units. I said yes, without thinking. He came over on a Saturday with his truck and about a dozen boxes. I helped him carry them to the spare room. He stayed for lunch. He seemed normal, relaxed, even. We talked about our parents, about a cousin's upcoming wedding. He left around 3. I hadn't thought about that visit in months. But sitting in Patricia's office, I thought about it for the first time since, and I thought about what was in my spare room. A filing cabinet, unlocked, with my closing documents, my social security card, my passport, my birth certificate, the whole paper spine of a life, all in one place, because I had always been organized and had never imagined I needed to be secretive about it in my own home. I didn't say any of this to Patricia yet. I wasn't sure. I needed to be sure. The police report was filed that afternoon. The detective I spoke with, a woman named Reyes who worked financial crimes, asked me the same question Patricia had. Did I know anyone with access to my personal documents? I told her about the visit. She wrote it down. She didn't react visibly, but she wrote it down carefully, and when she looked up, she said, "We'll need to pull the notarized loan application. The signature and the notary stamp can both be verified." I drove home and sat in my kitchen and stared at the wall. I wanted to be wrong. I want to be honest about that. I turned the thing over in my mind from every angle, trying to find another explanation. A data breach. Random identity theft. Someone who'd gotten my information from somewhere else entirely. I wanted any of those to be true. Because the alternative meant that my brother had come into my home, had gone through my files while I made us sandwiches in the kitchen, had photographed or copied everything he needed, and had then sat across from me at my own table and eaten lunch and talked about our cousin's wedding, and none of it had shown on his face. That possibility sat in my chest, like something cold and very heavy. I called my mother that evening. I didn't tell her what was happening. I just asked, as casually as I could manage, whether my brother had mentioned any financial trouble lately. She paused in the way she always pauses when she knows something she's deciding whether to share. "He owes some people money," she said finally, "from the business thing last year. I think it's significant. He asked your father and me for help a few months back, but we don't have that kind of money, sweetheart." I asked how much. Another pause. He said around $200,000. I thanked her and got off the phone. $310,000 dispersed. 2 draws. The first one, $180,000, would have more than covered the debt. The second one, $130,000, was something else. Cushion, maybe. Or greed. Or both. Patricia called me the following morning. She had contacted Meridian's legal department and requested the full origination file. The application, the appraisal, the notarized signature pages. They were required to provide them as part of the fraud claim process. She expected them within 5 business days. In the meantime, she had done something else. "I ran a full title search on your property this morning," she said. "I want you to know what we're looking at." I said nothing. I waited. The HELOC was recorded against the deed 14 months ago. But here's what's interesting. I could hear her turning pages. There's a second instrument. A junior lien. Filed 8 months ago. Different lender, a private entity, LLC structure, registered in Nevada. My breath stopped. Another one? For $95,000. Also in your name. Also with a notarized signature. I sat down on the floor of my hallway. I don't know why the floor I was just suddenly not able to stand. 2 loans. $405,000 total. Taken out against my house without my knowledge over the course of 6 months. And I had found out only because a payment was missed. "Patricia," I said, and my voice came out steadier than I felt. "What does this mean for my property?" "It means you have 2 fraudulent liens recorded against your deed," she said, "which means until they are legally discharged, your property cannot be sold or refinanced. It also means the lenders can theoretically pursue foreclosure if payments aren't made." She paused. "But it also means whoever did this made a paper trail. 2 paper trails, actually. And one of them is going to have a notary's seal and stamp number on it, which is a matter of public record." She said that last part in a very specific tone. The tone of someone who has been doing this for a long time and knows when a door is about to open. The origination file from Meridian arrived 4 days later. Patricia called me the afternoon she received it. She said, "I need you to come in." I went in. She had the file open on her desk. She turned it to face me and pointed to the signature page. It was my name. My handwriting was done reasonably well. Whoever had done it had practiced or had something to copy from. But it wasn't right. The way I formed the capital S in my last name, the slight leftward lean I have, it wasn't there. It was a good forgery. It just wasn't perfect. "Now look at the notary block," Patricia said. I looked. There was a seal, a signature, a commission number. "I ran the commission number through the state registry this morning," she said. "That notary's license expired 3 years ago. It's either a stolen seal or a fabricated one. Either way, this document is fraudulent on its face." She sat back. "The second lien, the private one, has the same notary seal, same commission number, same person. Both loans, the same fraudulent notary." I thought of my brother sitting across from me eating a turkey sandwich, asking me if I wanted to see photos from their last vacation. "What do we do now?" I asked. "You've already filed the police report," Patricia said. "Detective Reyes's office has been in contact with me. I'm going to formally refer this to the FBI's mortgage fraud unit as well. Because two fraudulent instruments crossing state lines, Meridian is in Ohio, the private LLC is registered in Nevada, makes this a federal matter. She looked at me steadily. I also want to file an emergency motion to cloud the title with a formal fraud notation so that no further instruments can be recorded against your property without a court order. We should have done that immediately. Honestly, I'm doing it today. Can they take my house? I asked. The lenders if I don't pay? We will fight that, and I believe we will win, she said. Fraudulent origination is a complete defense to foreclosure. But I won't tell you it's going to be quick or easy. This is going to take time. I nodded. I asked the question I had been building toward since I sat down. How long before we know if it was my brother? Patricia looked at me for a moment. Detective Reyes told me this morning that they've already pulled phone records and located a point-of-sale transaction, a printing and notary supply shop tied to a credit card registered to his wife. 14 months ago, 2 weeks before the first loan application was submitted, she paused. They know. He called me 3 days later. I had not reached out to him. I had not said a word to anyone in the family. I had been advised not to, and I had followed that advice exactly. And I had gone to work every day and sat at my desk and done my job and come home and cooked dinner and existed inside the very strange bubble of knowing something enormous that you cannot yet say out loud. His name came up on my phone screen, and I let it ring twice. Then I answered. Hey, he said. He sounded normal, relaxed, the same voice. Haven't heard from you in a while, just checking in. I'm okay, I said. Busy with work. Yeah, me too. A pause. Hey, those boxes I stored at your place, I think I'm finally ready to come get them. Would this weekend work? I thought about what was in those boxes. I had looked, after everything, after I understood what had probably happened. Books, clothes, a few framed photos, things he had selected specifically to give him a reason to be there and to come back. Sure, I said. Saturday works. I called Detective Reyes the moment I hung up. I'm not going to pretend that Saturday was easy. He showed up at 10 in the morning with his wife. She had a smile that never quite reached her eyes, and she stood in my hallway looking at the walls, at the floors, at my life, and I kept my face neutral and offered them both coffee and made small talk about the weather. They were loading boxes into his truck when Detective Reyes and another officer came up the driveway. My brother saw them and went still. He had a box in his hands. He set it down very carefully on the tailgate of the truck, the way you set something down when your hands have started to shake and you don't want anyone to see. Detective Reyes introduced herself. She told him she had questions about a home equity line of credit originated in my name 14 months ago. She told him about the second lien as well. She was calm and professional, and she looked directly at him the whole time. His wife said, "We should call a lawyer." He said nothing. He looked at me. I looked back at him. I had rehearsed different things to say in that moment. I had imagined saying something cutting, something that would make the whole thing feel resolved in some clean and final way. But standing there in my driveway in the October cold, looking at my brother's face as it understood what was happening, I just felt tired, deeply, wholly tired. I said, "You came into my house." He opened his mouth. He closed it. "You sat at my kitchen table," I said. "You ate lunch with me, and you had already planned what you were going to do." He looked at the ground. Detective Reyes said, "Sir, I need you to come with us." The investigation took 4 months. It was federal. The FBI's mortgage fraud unit took primary jurisdiction because of the interstate nature of the loans. What they found was thorough and, in some ways, worse than I had imagined. My brother had not acted alone. He had worked with a man he knew from a previous failed business, someone with access to forged notary materials and experience helping people falsify loan applications. This man had done it before, for other people, in other states. My brother had paid him $15,000 from the first draw. The private LLC, the one behind the second $95,000, lien, was partially controlled by this same associate. Some portion of my money had gone directly into a business structure my brother had no clean access to. He had not even gotten what he thought he was getting. His wife had known. The credit card for the notary supply purchase was in her name, and the phone records showed text message conversations between her and my brother, discussing the plan in terms that were specific enough that she could not credibly claim ignorance. What he had done with the money, $195,000 to settle the debt he owed. The rest into accounts that were traced and frozen before he could move them. Patricia fought the liens in civil court concurrently with the criminal proceedings. Both fraudulent instruments were discharged within 5 months faster than she had initially expected, partly because Meridian Lending Group, once presented with the evidence of forged origination documents, did not contest the fraud finding. They had their own liability exposure to worry about. They had not done adequate verification. A legitimate lender with a proper process should have caught what they missed. And they knew it. My credit was repaired. The fraud notations were removed. The title to my house was cleared. My brother was charged with 2 counts of mortgage fraud, 1 count of identity theft, and 1 count of wire fraud. His wife was charged with 1 count of wire fraud and 1 count of conspiracy. They both eventually took plea agreements rather than go to trial. He was sentenced to 38 months in federal prison. She received 18 months to be served in a minimum security facility, plus 3 years of supervised release. They also received a joint civil judgment ordering restitution to me for legal fees, credit remediation costs, and damages, a number I won't state here, but it was not small. I was in the courtroom for the sentencing. I did not cry. I did not feel the satisfaction I had imagined I might feel. I mostly felt the weight of what something like this costs. Not just money, not just time, though those are real and significant. I mean the cost of understanding that someone who shared your childhood, your parents' kitchen, your family's history, had looked at your life and seen it as something to take from. My mother did not attend the sentencing. She has called me twice since the guilty pleas were entered. Both conversations were short. She said she doesn't know how to talk about it yet. I told her I understood, and I do, even though understanding it doesn't make it easier. My father sent me a card, handwritten. 3 sentences. The last one said, "You protected what you built. I'm proud of you." I have kept that card. There are a few things I wish someone had told me before any of this happened, and I want to say them plainly because they matter. Your deed is a public record. Anyone can look up what's recorded against your property. You should do this periodically once a year, at minimum. Go to your county recorder's office website and search your name. It takes less than 10 minutes. If something appears that you did not authorize, you want to know before 14 months have passed and a payment is missed. Freeze your credit. All 3 bureaus. It is free. It prevents new lines of credit from being opened in your name without your explicit action to temporarily lift the freeze. I had not done this. I wish I had done it years ago. Your personal documents, your social security card, your passport, your deed, anything with your full legal identity on it, do not belong in an unlocked filing cabinet that anyone who enters your home can access. They belong in a fireproof safe, at minimum, or in a bank safety deposit box. I learned this the hard way. And if you ever receive a letter about a financial account or obligation you don't recognize, don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's a mistake someone else will sort out. Don't wait. Call an attorney that same day. The speed at which you act matters. I am still in my house. I want to say that clearly. The same house I cried in my car about after closing 7 years ago. The same kitchen where I made my brother a sandwich while he was deciding what to take from me. The same spare room where his boxes sat for months after he'd already emptied them of everything useful to him. I repainted that room last spring. It's a home office now, clean and bright, with a door that locks. I sit at my desk sometimes in the late afternoon when the light comes in sideways through the window, and I think about the version of this story where I never opened that envelope, or opened it and set it aside to deal with later, or tried to handle it myself without an attorney. I think about how close I came to losing this house not because of anything I did, but because I trusted someone I shouldn't have trusted and kept my whole life in an unlocked drawer. What I know now is this: what you build is worth protecting. Not defensively, not in fear, but deliberately, carefully, with the same intentionality that you used to build it in the first place, because the world does not always protect it for you. Sometimes the people who should protect it are exactly the ones you need protection from. I am still here. The deed still has my name on it, and only my name. That is enough.